Okay, we are with Siyata Deshmai and Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph in Amud Yomi. We're learning for all of the soldiers. We're learning today for the Ilui Nishmas Ruvain ben Moshe, the grandfather of Elon Berner, and also again for all the Chatufim and thinking Meretz Hashem about all of Klal Yisrael learning Torah. So we're on the mission on the bottom of Chaf and Beis talking about a Baal Keri. A Baal Keri, what's his din? Li'inyan Kriyat Shema, and the brachos and Birkas Hamazon. We have Takanas Ezra, as we will see, that a Baal Keri should not be involved in Torah, possibly Tefillah also until he dips in the mikvah. So now the Mishnah says a Baal Keri is maharher. He should think about Kriyat Shema belibo when Zman Kriyat Shema comes, because as we will see, it's a chiyuv midoraisa. The Gemara is going to say. But ve'eno mevarech the berachas Kriyat Shema lo lefanav lo lachra, not in the Shachris of Yotzor and Avrabah, not in Arvis of Marivar and Mavas Olam. Lo lachra and Shachris of Emes V'yatziv and Arvis Emes V'emun and Vashkivenu, even behira, because it's not the Oraisa. V'alamazon Nachilas pas mevarech lachrav behira and Birkas Hamazon, because the chiyuv's the Oraisa. That's what the Gemara is going to end up saying. Ve'eno mevarech lefanav Birkas Hamotzi, because it's not the Oraisa. Rabbi Yehuda is going to say, no, mevorich the birchas kriyat shema u birchas hamazon bepeh. As we will see, lifnim machreim, Rashi says, the Gemara is going to explain. It says the Gemara, that which we say Baal Keri is maharir kriyat shema in his heart. The Gemara says the whole big discussion about whether hero is kedim or dami or not. Omar Avin also meris, since the Mishnah says Baal Keri is maharir believe, it sounds like hero is kedim or dami, that thinking is like speaking. And everyone is Yotzei Behira. Why these Hakadaitach? If you would think that here is Lav Kedibur Dami, it's not considered like hero. So then why is the Baal Keri Lama Meharer? It's worthless. It must be here is Kedibur Dami. Answers Gemara, no. Elmai, if that's true, you want to tell me here is Kedibur Dami. If that's true, so Yotzei Besvasov. If it's like Dibur, so then just actually say it already. Why does the Mishnah just say Meharer? Answers the Gemara that even though lots of sidei chovas kriyat shema here is kedibur dami, but it's not mamish like dibur, that the Baal Keri, right? That the Baal Keri is asur laharer, right? Keda'ash kechan b'Sinai. As we find by Maimon Sinai, Rashi brought this down also, that we learned it that you were zahir to be porish from the isha in order that you shouldn't have tumas keri to be osik b'Torah b'dibur. And on this pre-shot is what Ezra made his takana to be litbol for the Baal Keri before learning Torah, possibly Tefillah also. But v'lo gazar, only on Dibur, but not on Hirur. Even though Hirur is Kedibur Dami, but the Gzeira is only like Sinai. That by Har Sinai, to be Zahir at that point, by Tumas Keri, is that they were Osik B'Torah B'Dibur. And therefore, the Mutter, the Baal Keri, to be Mahar and Kriyat Shema, V'Yotzei Yidei Chovasa. Says Reb Chizda, he argues on Ravina. He says, no, here is Lav Kedibur Dami, and you're not Yotzei B'Hirur. These Salka Daitach, that here is Kedibur Dami, then so Yotzei B'Svasav. So ask the Gemara Lamai, if that's true, here lav kedibur dami. It's not kedibur, so what are you doing maharir? It's worthless. And so the Gemara, no, Amarabalos, even though here is not considered dibur, like dibur, and you're not yotze kriyat shema, but if there is an important value, what's the value? Kedei shalo you kol olam uskimo. The whole world is being uskin kriyat shema vu yoshevu batal, and he is sitting and yoshevu batal, not being involved, be able to be together. There's a whole discussion as a dafka in with a minion or not with a minion, but this is a very important piece to nichnas b'toch hatzara shel tzibur, be together with the tzibur, love dafka even saras, to be davening. As the Gemara, as we turn to Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph in Negros, b'perka achrina, let them think about a different parak of Torah, l'amad dafka kriyat shema. So Amar Ravad Barava, they were mataki to mahar b'kriyat shema in order to be asuk b'davar, as I said, that the tzibur is oskimbo, right? And therefore that's why it said maybe it's dafka within the tzibur that you're with. That's a discussion. As the Gemara vari tefillah, the davar shat tzibur oskimbo, we know that tefillah, people, the tzibur is involved in it. We have a Mishnah later on. Hayu omid b'tefillah, you already started davening. V'niskar, oops, I'm a Baal Keri. So says the Mishnah, lo yafsik, you don't stop in the middle of tefillah, but you're mekatzer each bracha, you shorten each bracha. The implication of the Mishnah is taima. Why don't you stop in the middle? It's because you started the aschel. But halo aschel, if you remember your Baal Keri before your davening, lo yaschel, don't start. But why? Why did they not mitaki that here b'tefillah? Just like, so you should be asuk b'davar shat tzibur oskimo, just like we said by kriyat shema. Answers the Gemara, shiny tefillah. Tefillah is different than kriyat shema. The lesba, its essence is not Kabbalat Malchut Shamayim. Only in Kriyat Shema they are metaking that you have to be within Kabbalat Malchut Shamayim to be together with everybody. Could very well be that's why it's brought down on the Mishnah Berurah that when they say Aleinu and you're not even in the minyan, you came in, you say Aleinu, right? And again, because that's a Kabbalat Malchut Shamayim, what this Gemara is saying. Just that you're learning. Some people I say, okay, I'm learning. I don't have to be involved. Maybe because learning is considered Kabbalat Malchut Shamayim, but that's this discussion on this Gemara. As the Gemara of our Birkas Hamazon la'acharov, Birkas Hamazon after Achila deles be Kabbalat Malchut Shamayim, Utnan in the Mishnah says, Kol Hamazon, you are a meharer, mevarich la'acharov, and a mevarich lefanav is here. So again, why not be metaking b'tefillah? Because we said you're metaking even by Birkas Hamazon. And the reason by Kriyat Shema, therefore, is not because of Kabbalat Malchut Shamayim, because there is no Kabbalat Malchut Shamayim. So therefore, the Gemara is Choser, and what I had started explaining the Mishnah, which is what Kriyat Shema and Birkas Hamazon is a Chiyuv D'Oraisa, and therefore they're metaking the Balkari should be Mahar Belibo, but Tefillah, which is only D'Rabbanan, therefore the Chivu is Balkari Lahar Belibo. Again, we had mentioned this is Rashi. Straight out that says tefillah is midrabanan as opposed to the Rambam who holds it's d'oraisa and Hilchos tefillah. The Ramban who has a discussion about it being d'oraisa based sarah, or at least a suffix, and for sure by Mariv and based Knesses in a Moadim the Ramban shita is that it's midoraisa. But it's a Meforish Gemara that says tefillah is midrabanan. So a lot of the Mefarshim explain, according to the Rambam, that is talking about the nusach of the tefillah is midrabanan. So the Gemara explains, continues. We said that that the Kada we know, minayin that Birkas Hamazon afterwards and Birkas HaTorah before is min HaTorah. So Amar Rabbi Yehuda minayin Birkas Hamazon la'achareha she min HaTorah. How do I know that Birkas Hamazon, which we say afterwards, is min HaTorah? Shnemar, it says in Parshas Ekev v'achalto v'savato v'rachto. Uminayin the Birkas Hamazon lefanah is min HaTorah. Shnemar, it says by Moshe Rabbeinu when he was talking Shira over there in Parshas Hazinu, ki Shem Hashem Ekra. Havugodel Elokeinu. We see it's Shem Hashem, that's Torah. Ekra. So what do you have to do? Havugodel Elokeinu. That's saying a bracha, and that's why most people it's machlokes about Birchas HaTorah, but definitely the simple pshat in the Gemara is equated, and they're both brachos min ha-Torah. Now the Gemara says, okay, Birchas Hamazon afterwards and Birchas HaTorah beforehand are min ha-Torah. Period. But I don't understand. Why not be parallel? Why not do the bracha lifnei Hamazon and the Birchas HaTorah achareha? Right. So Amar Rav Yochanan Lamanu, we learned that you have to make the bracha Birchas HaTorah la'achareh, that you should have to make the bracha after limud. Where would I learn that from? Find the precedent from min Birchas Hamazon mikal v'chomer. Learn kal v'chomer. And similarly, we should say Birchas Hamazon lefaneha, i.e. Birchas Hamotzi, also min Birchas HaTorah mikal v'chomer. Now Rav Yochanan is going to explain what he meant. Birchas HaTorah la'achareh, that we should learn. You shouldn't say Birchas HaTorah before, and you should say it afterwards. We should learn it from Birchas Hamazon, from a kal v'chomer. What's the kal v'chomer? Mamazon. That it's not meforish in the Torah, that it's shatoun lefanav, it's Birchas Hanenin. That it's not meforish in the Torah, still it is meforish in the Torah that you need ton bracha acharav, as we just said, v'achalta v'savata v'rachta, b'liman Torah, which it is explicit in the Torah, that you need shatauna, you need the bracha lefanah. Eno din, is it obvious then shatuna bracha la'acharel? So the Gemara says, right, similarly, also the other way, that we should say Birchas Hamazon lefanah, mean Birchas HaTorah mikal v'chomer, kal v'chomer the other way. Just like by lima Torah, it's not mefurish that you need a Torah afterwards, you need a bracha afterwards, but still it isn't mefurish that you need it. You need a bracha, excuse me, beforehand of Shem Hashem Ekra, some Mazon where it's mefurish. Shiton bracha la'acharav, eno din shiton bracha even lefanav. So the Gemara is doche the two kal v'chomers. It says, no, each one has a kasha. Ikol mifrach. You can ask a kasha on the limud of the kal v'chomer, both by limud Torah, that it needs a bracha, la'acharav mi mazon. Mal mazon, shekein gufo nene. Right, shekein nene. The guf is nene mi mazon. So therefore you could say that's why you make the bracha afterwards. Right, v'achalta v'savata, and then uveirachta. As opposed to limud Torah, that the guf is not nene from it. Right? And therefore, that's why there's no bracha afterwards. Limud b'kal v'chomer, that we said that the Muslim should have the bracha beforehand from Torah. No, Ma'ala Torah shekein, it brings it all in haba, and that's why you can make the bracha beforehand, as opposed to Mazon, that it's mevi l'chai shah bilvad. Another proof that we make a Birchas Hamazon afterwards, and not beforehand. Minatora Ditanan, the Mishnah says by Balkari, Al Mozam Mavarich Lacharav, Enam Mavarich Lefanav. Right, so it's Mam Shatiyufta. It's a pircha to Rabbi Yochanan's Kal Vachomer. You should look at the Meshech Chochman also, the Sefer Achinuch in Mitzvah Tov Lamed that explains why in Svara, based on this Gemara, whether Torah, you could be excited. You could be excited about Ruchni. And that's why, again, that's what he understands what the Gemara says about Olam Haba. It's mamish living in Olam Haba. And therefore, that's where you can make the bracha beforehand. As opposed to food, you just enjoy, only after you enjoy it, you v'achalta v'savata v'erachta. That's how the Sefer Chinuch explains it. The Meshech Chochmah says that there's a real fear of forgetting. V'achalta v'savata, right? You have to make sure to v'erachta. Why? Because you become satiated, you're going to forget Hashem. V'ram levavecha v'shachachta Hashem elokecha. And that's the concept of shkein nene. Right, so that's why you have to make it afterwards. Okay, the Gemara continues. Let's say you're a suffix if you're at Kriyat Shema, or if you said Emes V'Yatziv. So Omar Rabbi Yehuda, suffix kara Kriyat Shema, suffix lo kara eino chozer v'kore. Right. So the Rabbi Yehuda says you have a suffix whether you read Kriyat Shema or suffix if you didn't. You don't go back. Suffix if you said Birchas Emes V'Yatziv, suffix if you didn't said it or didn't say it. Chozev Omer Emes V'Yatziv. Ask Gemara my time, what's the difference between suffix of Kriyat Shema versus suffix of Emes V'Yatziv? The Gemara answers, Chovas Kriyat Shema is mid'Rabbanan. Right, and therefore if you're suffix in a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, you don't go back. But Emes V'Yatziv is d'Oraisa. And therefore if you're a suffix, if you're Makayim in mitzvah d'Oraisa, we know you have to go back. The Gemara asked on this that you're saying the Chovas Kriyat Shema is mid'Rabbanan, right? Meisiv Rabbi Yosef said to Rabbi Yehuda, right? That which Rabbi Yehuda says that Kriyat Shema is only mid'Rabbanan, which obviously was against the Gemara that we had just did above, that had said that Shani Tefillah. Right, the Gemara had said that Kriyat Shema Birkas Hamazon Daraisa. Okay, but Meisiv Rav Yosef asked the question of Yehuda. It says before in the Shema B'Shach B'Chov Kumecha. You have to read Kriyat Shema Boker V'Erev. It's Daraisa. The Gemara answers Amalei Abaye Rav Yosef. That pasuk is talking about Divrei Torah Ksiv, that you're chayiv to learn Torah Boker and Erev. V'Yigisa Bo Yom V'Layli. You have a chayiv to learn in the morning. You have a chayiv to learn at night. Right, but chayiv of reading Kriyat Shema is only midrabanan. The Gemara now asks on that which we said that the Emes V'Yatziv is midoraisa. Tanan our Mishnah said Bal Keri Maharer Belibo. Bal Keri is Maharer Belibo. Ve'eno Mavarech even Behira Lo Lefanel. That's again Yotzer or Avas Olam. And Lo Acharel Emes V'Yatziv after Shema. Vala Mazon we said Mavarech La'Achara. Ve'eno Mavarech Lefanav. Birchas HaMotzi Behira. V'Yisakodak if you think that Emes V'Yatziv is Daraisa. So, if that's true, the Baal Keri should be doing it, just like we said by Birkas Hamazon. Bomb question answers the Gemara. My time of Mavarech. What's the reason why you're chayav to make the bracha afterwards? Imishum, if you want to tell me, because of Askaras Yitzias Mitzrayim, Ha'Itkele. You already mentioned Yitzias Mitzrayim and Kriyat Shema, right? When you mentioned Parashat Tzitzis, right? And therefore, since you mentioned Yitzias Mitzrayim, you don't have to say Emes V'Yatziv, only midrabanan, and therefore, in this case, you have a chiyuv not to say it as the Gemara. So therefore, really, it could be D'Oraisa, but the D'Oraisa part, you already mentioned the D'Oraisa. You want to mention it because of Yitzias Mitzrayim, so like you mentioned already in the Parsha of Tzitzis. And therefore, since the question was again, Imsak Adaita that Emes V'Yatziv is Daraisa, then you should make Mavarech Achareh just like Birkas Hamazon. That was the bomb question. The answer was my time on Mavarech. What's the reason why you have to make it afterwards? Imishum, because of mentioning Yitzias Mitzrayim, Ha'Itkele. We already mentioned Yitzias Mitzrayim in Kriyat Shema. When Mahar bar Parshat Tzitzis, she is Baz Chiras Yitzias Mitzrayim. And since I already mentioned Yitzias Mitzrayim, so therefore, then the rest of it's only midrabanan, and therefore you don't have to. Okay. The Gemara says, "V'nei maha v'loli baiha." Since according to Rabbi Yehuda, the chiyuv is only laski Yitzias Mitzrayim min haTorah, and you really don't have to read Kriyat Shema min haTorah. So just be mahar Emes V'Yatziv, and then you don't have to think about Kriyat Shema. Right? The main thing is just the Yitzias Mitzrayim. So therefore, all you should do is mahar by the Emes V'Yatziv and not Kriyat Shema. Why did the Mishnah say that you mahar b'kriyat shema and not emes v'yatziv? It should be the other way. Answers the Gemara, kriyat shema is adifa than emes v'yatziv. This beitarte, because it's got two. It's got both Zchias Yitzias Mitzrayim and Malchus Shemayim. Versus emes v'yatziv, it only has Yitzias Mitzrayim. A dea that's cholekes on Rabbi Yehuda, and is by the case of Safek if you davened. Rabbi Lazar argues on Rabbi Yehuda. V'amar Safek kore kriyat shema. Safek lo kara chosev kore kriyat shema, like we saw earlier, because he says kriyat shema is daraisa. But Safek is spal. Safek lo is spal. Eno choser mispal. If you're Safek if you davened or not, because since chova tefillah, like we had said earlier, is only midrabanan. Rabbi Yochanan argues on Rabbi Lazar in a very celebrated passage. And he says, Valmar, he says, Halavai she spal adam kolim kula. Halavai should daven the whole day. Therefore, if you have a suffix whether you davened or not, even if the chovas tefillah is midrabanan, you should that according to Rav Yochanan, Halavai she spal adam kolim kulo, how the Rashba explains it in the name of the Gaon, that you can go back and choser mispalim yirtzeh, but you're not chayiv. All right, the versus the Ravid who explains that according to Rabbi Yochanan, since if I could daven kolayim kulo. Therefore, if you're mesupok in mispalos, a chayiv lachzor lispalo, right? And he's cholik on Rabbi Lazar. The versus Rabbi Yonah says that Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Yochanan don't argue, but Rabbi Lazar says you're not mechuyev lachzor lispalo. Rabbi Yochanan says if you want, you can go and daven kolayom kulo. The Gemara continues and brings a halach that if you're emtzat tefillah and then you're like, oh yeah, I davened already. Oops. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Omid b'tefillah v'niskar. Oops, I already davened. Posek afilu be'emtza bracha. Stop even in the middle of a bracha. Rashi quotes from the Baal Halachas Gadolos that your posek halachak Rabbi Yochanan that we said is spalel kol hayom kulo besafik imispalo. And like Shmuel that says you're posek be'emtza bracha b'vaday yispalo, right? Okay, I'm not going for there now, but okay. As the Gemara, Aini, is this really true that you stop in the middle of the bracha? V'amar Rab Nachman ki avinam bei Rabba baravua be'anminei. When he was in the base medrash of Rabba baravua, they asked him as follows. Ba'anminei asked him, Hani bei Rav de told they made a mistake. Umat chedu chol b'Shabbos. Talmid made a mistake, and they mentioned in Tfilas Chol Shabbos, and they remembered in the middle of the bracha. Ma'u shigmu, they finished that bracha. V'amlo gomer kol as a bracha finish. So we see you make a mistake. You remember in the middle of the bracha, you got to finish the bracha. You don't stop in the middle. So why did Shmuel say if you remember in the middle that you're davening, you stop even in the middle of the bracha? The Gemara makes a distinction. How can you compare the two? Hachi ashta, right? You can't compare the two dinim. By the case where you mention chol b'Shabbos, gaver bar chiyuvahu. Person's chayv to mevarich all of Shmona Esrei brachos k'mo b'chol on Shabbos. But Rabbanon who the lo atrichu, the Rabbanon and the Chachamim were not matriach to mevarich all of them because of kvod Shabbos. Therefore, if you started it, finish it. Aval hacha, by the case where you remember you davened already, you're not a bar chiyuva. Ha tzalilei, you finished. Okay, we will start Chaf Aleph Amud Beis next yom.